I just inherited what I thought was my late uncle's worthless old cabin, a crumbling shack in the middle of nowhere that nobody wanted. Then one day, a gleaming white Tesla pulls up outside. Out steps HOA President Cordelia Ashworth, blonde, perfectly polished, designer heels sinking into my rotting porch as she bangs on my broken screen door with foreclosure papers. "You have 30 days to tear down this disgusting eyesore, or we'll demolish it ourselves and send you the bill." She's looking down at me like I'm nothing, but while she's threatening me on my own land, I open Uncle Ezra's dusty trunk and find one faded document. An 1872 railroad deed, 1,500 acres. Her entire luxury neighborhood, 300 pristine homes, perfect lawns, community pools, is illegally built on land my family has owned for over 150 years. She just threatened the wrong person. And when I decided to do something about it, karma hit them harder than they ever imagined. What would you have done? Drop your worst HOA horror stories below. Where are you watching from tonight? 2 weeks before everything changed, I was living in a cramped Columbus apartment, fixing electrical problems for people who treated me like furniture. Divorced 6 months, broke as hell, wondering if 47 was too old to start over. My ex-wife got the house, I got the debt, and my electrical contracting business was barely keeping me fed. Then Uncle Ezra died. Barely knew the man. Family black sheep who lived alone in the woods, sent Christmas cards with no return address and cryptic notes about keeping what's ours. Last time I saw him, I was 12, and he was arguing with my dad about some old family property dispute. Called him a stubborn fool who knew too much for his own good. His lawyer called saying I'd inherited some property in rural Madison County. Sounded like a handful of worthless acres and a tax bill I couldn't afford. The 3-hour drive wound through back roads that made my pickup truck groan on every hill. When I finally found the place, my heart sank. The cabin looked like a movie prop for hillbilly horror. Sagging metal roof, windows held together with duct tape, porch steps that sagged under my weight. Paint had given up trying to stick to weathered siding decades ago. But stepping out of the truck, the silence hit me like a blessing. No traffic, no neighbors screaming through paper-thin walls, just wind whispering through pine needles and the distant gurgle of creek water over stones. Air so clean it made my lungs ache, forest loam and wild honeysuckle instead of exhaust fumes and desperation. Inside wasn't much better. Furniture draped in dusty sheets, mouse turds scattered across warped floorboards. That particular smell of abandonment, musty wood smoke mixed with decades of solitude, but the bones were solid. Hand-hewn oak beams, fieldstone foundation, the kind of craftsmanship that died with the men who built it. Uncle Ezra's final letter sat on the kitchen table. "Sawyer, don't let them steal what's rightfully ours. Check the trunk. The truth's been waiting long enough. I spent the first week making it livable. Rewiring dangerous electrical, patching the roof, clearing out enough junk to sleep without breathing dust clouds. The nearest neighbors were supposedly some fancy development called Millbrook Estates, but thick forest blocked any view. Perfect. Maybe I could finally think straight without listening to other people's lives bleeding through apartment walls. That's when Cordelia Ashworth came calling. I was replacing rotted porch boards, hammer in hand, when designer heels clicked across my gravel driveway. The sound alone cost more than my monthly food budget. She materialized like something from a different planet. Mid-50s, helmet blonde hair that defied physics, white blazer so pristine it hurt to look at, pearl necklace catching afternoon sunlight, manicured nails drumming against leather portfolio thick as a phone book. Even her perfume smelled expensive, some floral assault that made the forest air seem thin. "Excuse me," voice like breaking crystal. "Are you the new owner of this structure?" I set down my hammer, wiping sawdust from my hands. "Sawyer Blackwood, yeah, inherited it from my uncle." Her nose wrinkled like she'd stepped in something dead. "I'm Cordelia Ashworth, president of the Millbrook Estates Homeowners Association." She handed me a business card, raised lettering on stock thick enough to cut bread. "Our community manages 312 homes with a $2.3 million annual budget. We maintain certain standards. Good for you. The cabin violates multiple aesthetic guidelines protecting property values. The condition, the obvious maintenance failures, frankly, it's an eyesore that reflects poorly on our entire area. I glanced around at towering pines, birdsongs, complete isolation from whatever McMansion paradise she represented. Lady, your neighborhood's invisible from here. Nevertheless, her smile belonged in a shark documentary. You have 30 days to remove this disgusting structure, or we'll have the county condemn it. While she delivered her threat, looking down at me like something she'd scrape off her Laubautins, Uncle Ezra's mysterious trunk sat right behind her through the open door. Time to see what truth had been waiting. 3 days after Cordelia's little visit, I learned how rich people wage war on poor folks. I was installing new electrical outlets, proper GFCI protection, everything by the book, when a white county truck crunched up my gravel driveway. Out stepped Dale Thornberry, building inspector, clipboard clutched like a shield and sweat already beading his forehead, despite the cool morning air. Mr. Blackwood, got some reported violations to investigate. He handed me papers thick enough to stop a bullet. 14 separate code violations, each carrying fines that made my divorce look cheap. Unpermitted electrical work, 4,000. Noncompliant septic, 12,000. Structural hazards, 18,000. Foundation issues, roofing violations, something about illegal occupancy of substandard dwelling. Total $47,000. $60 days to fix everything or face county seizure. This is horseshit, Dale. I flipped through pages that might as well have been written in Latin. Inadequate stormwater management. I live in the middle of a damn forest. Dale avoided eye contact like a teenager caught shoplifting. Look, I just follow up on complaints. Someone reports problems, I gotta investigate. Someone named Cordelia Ashworth. His face flushed red as fresh paint. Can't discuss who files reports. After his truck disappeared down my driveway, I sat on my sagging porch steps, staring at those papers and feeling that old, familiar rage. The same helpless fury I'd felt watching lawyers gut my marriage, watching corporate clients treat me like disposable labor. People with money always found ways to crush people without it. But this time felt different. This time, I had Uncle Ezra's trunk full of secrets. I spent that night reading by lamplight. My electrical work kept the power steady, unlike some folks I could mention. The 1872 deed was just the tip of the iceberg. Survey maps from 3 different decades, all showing identical property boundaries. Tax receipts dating back generations. Every payment signed by a Blackwood. And buried at the bottom, a manila folder that made everything click. HOA Correspondence 1987-2019. Uncle Ezra had been fighting this exact war for 32 years. Letter after letter from Millbrook Estates demanding he cease interfering with community development. Threats about frivolous property claims if he didn't acknowledge established boundaries. His responses got shorter and angrier over time, but the stubborn bastard never surrendered, never signed anything, never backed down. The final letter was Cordelia's masterpiece, dated 6 months before Uncle Ezra died. Your harassment of residents and baseless claims have been reported to authorities. Desist immediately or face consequences. His unsent reply was penciled in the margin. You built your palace on stolen land. Bills always come due. Smart old coot knew exactly what game they were playing. Don found me driving through Millbrook Estates with my camera, documenting their perfect little world. My years wiring McMansions had taught me something most people don't know. Rich neighborhoods cut just as many corners as poor ones. They just hide it better behind fancy facades and political connections. Tesla charging stations without electrical permits, pool installations violating setback requirements, fence heights exceeding county limits, mailboxes mounted wrong, driveways extended past property lines, outdoor lighting bright enough to guide aircraft. But Cordelia's house was the crown jewel, a monument to expensive taste with one glaring flaw. Her Tesla charging station, sleek and modern as tomorrow, wasn't just unpermitted. According to electrical codes I knew by heart, it was a $12,000 violation sitting pretty in her circular driveway. Here's something most folks don't realize. Code enforcement works both ways, but only if you know which buttons to push. I filed complaints on everything, 127 violations across their development, each documented with photos, measurements, and specific code citations, requested inspection records under Freedom of Information Act, demanded explanations for why identical problems had sailed through approval during Millbrook's construction. My old laser printer worked overtime, churning out violation reports until 2 a.m. The smell of hot toner and fresh paper filled my cabin like incense at a revenge ceremony. Dale returned 3 days later looking like he'd been chewing broken glass. "Mr. Blackwood, about these complaints you filed. Just being a good citizen, Dale, making sure everyone follows the same rules. Look, some of these issues are historically complex, grandfather clauses, previous approvals. Funny how those grandfather clauses only protect people who golf with county commissioners." Sweat dripped off his chin despite the morning chill. "What if we could find some middle ground? Reduce your violations, work out a compromise." The trap was closing beautifully. What kind of compromise? Your electrical work. Turns out it's mostly compliant after all. That septic system shows proper approval from 1987. Might have been a paperwork mix-up. I let him squirm for a long moment. And the structural issues. Basic maintenance should handle it. Some paint, minor repairs. We could probably settle for $1,200 total, from $47,000 to $1,200 just like magic. But while Dale was learning about equal enforcement, I was discovering something that would change everything. Cordelia had made this personal way too early in the game. Cordelia's next move proved she'd learned absolutely nothing from Dale's little lesson in equal enforcement. I was savoring morning coffee on my porch, listening to bird songs that didn't give a damn about property values, when her white Tesla carved fresh ruts in my gravel driveway. This time she brought muscle, some sharp-dressed lawyer in a midnight blue Mercedes whose hourly rate probably exceeded my monthly income. She emerged wearing what looked like designer safari gear, the kind worn by people who think roughing it means staying at a 4-star lodge. Her perfume hit me from 20 feet away, clashing with the clean smell of pine needles and morning dew. "Mr. Blackwood, we need to discuss your illegal interference with essential community infrastructure." "Morning, Cordelia. Beautiful day for making threats, isn't it?" The lawyer, Brennan Sheffield, according to his embossed business card, unfolded legal papers like he was presenting surrender terms. "Sir, our investigation reveals you've been tampering with the main water line serving our community." I nearly spit coffee across my porch rail. "Tampering? I haven't touched your damn water line." "Nevertheless," Cordelia's voice could freeze antifreeze, "that line crosses your property without authorization. We're prepared to offer compensation. $500, one-time dollars payment for a permanent easement. $500 for unlimited access to my land." These people truly believed I was born yesterday and raised stupid. "What if I decline your generous offer?" Sheffield delivered his practiced intimidation speech. "We'd pursue legal action for interference with essential services." "The county takes water disruption very seriously, Mr. Blackwood." After they roared away in their German engineering, I did what any curious property owner would do. Went hunting for this mysterious water line they were sweating about. An hour of tramping through my woods revealed their little secret. 6-inch main pipe running straight through my property like an interstate highway, marked with cheerful blue flags. The real prize was the maintenance building surrounding the main junction. Concrete block structure, industrial locks, sitting pretty on my side of any reasonable property line. The kind of shed that screams expensive equipment lives here. That evening found me at the courthouse, digging through dusty permit files like Uncle Ezra had taught me to do. The waterline installation story read like a bureaucratic comedy show. Original permits from 1991 showed the contractor raising red flags about property ownership. But the township was neck-deep in what they called administrative modernization, computer systems being upgraded, old records digitized, property boundaries getting lost in translation. The contractor's notes were gold, unable to contact actual property owner for easement permission. Proceeding under township guidance, that land appears to be public domain during transition period. They'd built their entire water system during the one brief window when nobody knew who owned what. Sometimes timing is everything, and sometimes it bites you in the ass 30 years later. Back home, I installed a digital flow meter at their junction box. Amazing what you can buy online these days. The numbers were eye-opening. 34,000 gallons daily, flowing through unauthorized pipes crossing my land like I was running a charity water service. That's when I remembered something from my apprenticeship days, working with an old-timer who'd handled industrial water rights. Property ownership includes what lawyers call subsurface rights: water, minerals, everything beneath your soil. When someone runs pipes through your land without permission, they're not just trespassing. They're stealing your resources, and the law takes that seriously. I spent the next morning calculating what Millbrook Estates owed me for 33 years of unauthorized water usage. Commercial easement rates in Ohio run about 15 cents per 1,000 gallons, plus monthly access fees. Add compound interest at legal rates and the numbers got beautiful fast. $192,000 in back payments plus ongoing monthly rent. Sheffield's business card was still on my kitchen table, so I gave him a call. "Mr. Sheffield, Sawyer Blackwood, I've reconsidered that easement discussion." "Excellent. My clients will be pleased you're approaching this reasonably." "Oh, I'm being very reasonable. I'll grant your